On today's episode, we dive into the gripping story, Betrayed Hearts, the unfolding saga of a cheating wife and a journey to redemption. Follow Kevin, an ordinary man with extraordinary determination, as he navigates the highs of career success and the devastating lows of betrayal. Witness his journey from heartache to healing, and discover how he finds true love and resilience in the face of adversity. This tale is a roller coaster of emotions, filled with unexpected twists and powerful lessons about trust, resilience, and the power of genuine connections. Stay tuned to experience every moment of this compelling narrative. Kevin was an ordinary guy with a relentless drive to succeed. From a young age, while his peers spent their days in clubs and bars, Kevin dedicated his time to studying and self-improvement. His efforts paid off handsomely. By his early 30s, Kevin had built a successful career in tech, amassing a comfortable amount of wealth, and, on the surface, a happy life. 3 years ago, Kevin met Laura, a strikingly beautiful and charismatic woman. Laura had the kind of presence that could light up any room, and Kevin was instantly captivated by her. Despite their seemingly different worlds, with Kevin being more introverted and Laura the social butterfly, they hit it off remarkably well. They dated for a year, during which Kevin fell deeply in love with Laura's vivacious spirit and her apparent devotion to him. Laura was the head cheerleader in college, a fact that Kevin often found hard to believe given his own nerdy and reserved background. Yet, she had chosen him, and he felt incredibly lucky. After a whirlwind romance, Kevin proposed, and they were married in a grand ceremony that seemed to signal the start of a perfect life together. Their home was a luxurious apartment in a high-rise building in downtown Los Angeles, offering a panoramic view of the city that never ceased to amaze Kevin. He would often find himself staring out of the window, marveling at how far he had come from his humble beginnings. Life, it seemed, had finally rewarded him for his years of hard work and perseverance. Kevin's job as the founder and CEO of a burgeoning tech startup was demanding, but he found great satisfaction in his work. The company was on the brink of launching a new product that promised to revolutionize the way people interacted with their devices. It was a busy and exciting time, and Kevin often had to put in long hours. Laura, on the other hand, was a freelance graphic designer, a career that offered her the flexibility to work from home and pursue her interests. Their relationship was seemingly perfect. They shared interests, had similar life goals, and complemented each other well. Kevin admired Laura's creativity and zest for life, while Laura appreciated Kevin's intelligence and ambition. They spent weekends exploring the city, trying out new restaurants, and attending social events. Laura's friends and family were charmed by Kevin's humility and kindness, and his friends were equally impressed by Laura's grace and warmth. However, beneath the surface of their idyllic life, subtle cracks were beginning to form. Kevin's dedication to his work often meant late nights and missed dinners. Laura, while understanding and supportive, sometimes felt neglected. She missed the spontaneous dates and the intimate conversations they used to have before Kevin's company took off. Despite her attempts to communicate her feelings, Kevin was often too absorbed in his work to notice the growing distance between them. Laura's freelance work, though flexible, was also sporadic. There were months when she had more free time than she knew what to do with, leading to periods of boredom and restlessness. Kevin, meanwhile, was always preoccupied, either with work or with the future plans for his company. The imbalance in their routines created an invisible barrier that neither of them acknowledged openly. Kevin's brother, Michael, had always been a significant figure in his life. Standing a bit shorter and carrying a bit more weight, Michael had a darker, more mysterious aura about him. He was the kind of person who always had a solution, no matter how complex the problem. Michael had dabbled in various ventures, some less savory than others, but his loyalty to Kevin was unwavering. When Kevin discussed his plan to start his own company, Michael was the one who arranged the necessary funds, believing in Kevin's vision when no one else did. Michael had always been protective of Kevin, especially after their parents passed away in a tragic car accident. He took on the role of the older, wiser brother, guiding Kevin through the rough patches of life. Despite their differences, they shared a deep bond, forged through years of facing challenges together. Michael, with his street-smart demeanor, often served as a stark contrast to Kevin's more idealistic and straightforward nature. One evening, Kevin returned home early from a particularly grueling day at work. It was a rare occurrence, as his schedule usually kept him at the office until late. The apartment was unusually quiet, and Kevin assumed Laura was out with friends or running errands. He decided to surprise her by cooking dinner, something he hadn't done in a long time. As he was preparing the ingredients, he heard a soft thud coming from the bedroom. Curious, Kevin walked down the hallway, the anticipation of seeing Laura growing with each step. However, the scene that greeted him when he opened the bedroom door was something he could never have imagined. There, on their bed, was Laura, engaged in an intimate act with another man. Kevin's heart pounded in his chest, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. The man, later identified as David, glanced up, meeting Kevin's shocked gaze with a smirk. "Would you mind closing the door and giving us some privacy?" David said casually, as if he were merely asking for a moment of peace. Laura, initially startled, quickly shifted her expression to one of annoyance. It was as if Kevin had interrupted something mundane, like a conversation or a meal, rather than an act of betrayal. Fighting back tears, Kevin felt a surge of anger and disbelief. He had trusted Laura implicitly, never doubting her loyalty for a second. In that moment, Kevin wanted nothing more than to lash out, to confront both Laura and David for their betrayal. But reality hit him hard. He wasn't a fighter, and the situation was far from a simple confrontation. David, sensing Kevin's intent, moved first. A swift left jab caught Kevin off guard, shattering his nose and sending him reeling. Two rapid punches to his stomach left him gasping for air, and a knee to his face sent him crashing to the ground. Laura's voice cut through the haze of pain. "David, stop. He's had enough. Just go. I'll contact you later." Those were the last words Kevin heard before losing consciousness. Kevin awoke in a small, sterile room. The bright overhead lights stung his eyes, and every part of his body ached. He turned his head slightly to find Laura sitting nearby, her expression unreadable. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice devoid of genuine concern. Kevin turned away, staring out the window. Her question seemed absurd, almost mocking. How could she ask if he was okay after what she had done? "I'm sorry you had to find out like that," Laura said, her voice softer this time. "Like that?" Kevin retorted, finally looking at her. "So you did want me to find out, just not in that manner?" Laura looked away, her eyes avoiding his. "Yes," she admitted quietly. Kevin's mind raced with questions. Who is this guy? How long has this been going on? "You won't like the answers, but it's time for the truth," Laura began. "David was my college boyfriend before we got together. We never truly ended things. He grew impatient waiting for me, so we decided that since our initial plan wasn't working, it was time to cut our losses and move on." Kevin's heart sank. "What plan? Did you marry me solely for the money?" Laura didn't answer directly, but her silence spoke volumes. Kevin felt a wave of nausea, the pain of betrayal cutting deeper than any physical wound. He couldn't bear to look at her. "Nurse, remove her from here," Kevin demanded, his voice trembling with anger. "Laura, just get out of my sight. I never want to see you again." As Laura left, Kevin pressed the morphine button repeatedly, desperate to numb the pain. Not just the physical pain, but the agony of having his heart shattered. He stared out the window, the city skyline blurred by his tears. The life he had worked so hard to build was crumbling before his eyes, and he felt utterly powerless to stop it. Kevin spent the next few days in a haze of pain and confusion. The morphine dulled the physical agony, but nothing could numb the emotional torment. His mind kept replaying the scene of Laura with David, the smug look on David's face, and Laura's casual indifference. Each replay was like a knife twisting deeper into his heart. Michael, Kevin's older brother, was the first to visit him in the hospital. As soon as Kevin saw him, he felt a mixture of relief and shame. He had always looked up to Michael, relying on him for advice and support. Now, facing his brother in such a vulnerable state was almost unbearable. "Hey, kiddo," Michael greeted him, his tone soft but laced with concern. "How are you holding up?" Kevin tried to muster a smile but failed miserably. "I've been better," he replied weakly. Michael pulled up a chair and sat beside Kevin's bed. "I heard what happened. That woman. I always had a bad feeling about her." Kevin sighed, his eyes welling up with tears. "You were right, Michael. I was blind. I should have listened to you." Michael placed a reassuring hand on Kevin's shoulder. "Don't beat yourself up over it. Love makes us do crazy things. What's important now is that you heal and figure out what you want to do next." Kevin nodded, but the road ahead seemed overwhelmingly uncertain. He felt adrift, his once solid foundation shattered. A few days later, Laura returned to the hospital, this time accompanied by a lawyer. Kevin's heart sank at the sight of them. He knew what was coming but wasn't prepared for the cold, clinical manner in which it was delivered. "Kevin," Laura began, her voice devoid of emotion, "I've initiated divorce proceedings. This is Mr. Thompson, my lawyer. He has some papers for you to sign." Kevin stared at her in disbelief. "You're serious? After everything, you just want to end it like this?" Laura avoided his gaze. "It's for the best. We've been living a lie, and it's time to move on." Kevin felt a surge of anger. "A lie? You mean your lie? I loved you, Laura. I believed in us." Mr. Thompson cleared his throat, interrupting the heated exchange. "Mr. Davis, I understand this is a difficult time, but it's important to address these legal matters promptly." Kevin glanced at the stack of papers, his mind reeling. "I need time to read these. I'm not signing anything right now." Laura nodded, seemingly relieved to end the conversation. "Take your time. We'll be in touch." As they left, Kevin felt a crushing sense of defeat. His marriage was over, and there was nothing he could do to change it. He was left to pick up the pieces of his shattered life. Once Kevin was discharged from the hospital, he moved in with Michael temporarily. Michael's apartment was a modest place, but it was a refuge from the chaos that had consumed Kevin's life. For the first time in weeks, he felt a semblance of peace. Michael was a constant presence, offering support without being overbearing. He respected Kevin's need for space but was always there when Kevin needed to talk. It was during one of these conversations that Michael made a surprising offer. "Kevin, I know you're going through hell right now, but I have a proposition for you," Michael began, his tone serious. Kevin looked up, curiosity piqued. "What is it?" "I've been thinking about your situation and how we can turn this around. You need to get away from here for a while, let your arm heal and clear your head. I have a friend, Victor, who owns a cabin in the mountains. It's quiet, secluded, and the perfect place for you to recover." Kevin frowned, unsure. "I appreciate the offer, Michael, but running away won't solve anything. I need to figure out what to do about Laura and David." Michael nodded. "I understand, but this isn't about running away. It's about giving yourself time to heal and plan your next move. Besides, Victor is someone who can help you in ways you can't even imagine. Trust me on this." Kevin hesitated, but the idea of escaping the constant reminders of his failed marriage was appealing. "Okay, I'll think about it." A few days later, Kevin agreed to Michael's plan. They packed his belongings and drove up to the mountains. The cabin was everything Michael had described and more. Nestled in a dense forest, it offered complete privacy and breathtaking views of the surrounding landscape. It was the perfect place for Kevin to begin his recovery. As Kevin settled into the cabin, he felt a sense of calm he hadn't experienced in weeks. The fresh mountain air and the tranquility of nature provided a much-needed respite from the turmoil of his life. He spent his days reading, hiking, and reflecting on the past. Gradually, he began to regain his strength, both physically and emotionally. One afternoon, while Kevin was sitting on the porch, he received a call from Michael. "Hey, Kevin, how are you doing up there?" "I'm doing better, Michael. The cabin is amazing. Thank you for this." Michael's voice was reassuring. "I'm glad to hear that. Listen, there's something else I need to discuss with you. Victor wants to meet you. He thinks he can help with your situation." Kevin was intrigued. "Help how?" "It's better if you hear it from him. Can you come down to the city this weekend?" Kevin agreed, and that weekend, he drove back to the city to meet Victor. The meeting took place in a small, upscale restaurant. Victor was a tall, imposing man with a commanding presence. His sharp eyes and confident demeanor immediately put Kevin at ease. "Kevin, it's a pleasure to meet you," Victor said, extending his hand. Kevin shook his hand firmly. "Likewise. Michael speaks highly of you." Victor smiled. "He's a good man, your brother. Let's get straight to the point. Michael has told me about your situation, and I believe I can help you get the justice you deserve." Kevin was skeptical but hopeful. "What do you have in mind?" Victor leaned in, his expression serious. "David needs to pay for what he's done. Laura, too. But we need to be smart about this. We can't just go in guns blazing. We need a plan, one that ensures they feel the full weight of their actions." Kevin listened intently as Victor outlined his plan. It was intricate and detailed, involving surveillance, gathering evidence, and ultimately, exposing Laura and David's deceit in a way that would leave them humiliated and powerless. It was a plan that required patience and precision, but it promised a sense of closure that Kevin desperately needed. "Are you in?" Victor asked, his eyes locking onto Kevin's. Kevin took a deep breath, feeling a renewed sense of purpose. "Yes, I'm in. Let's do this." With the plan in motion, Kevin returned to the cabin, determined to regain his strength and focus. He knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but for the first time in weeks, he felt a glimmer of hope. He was no longer a victim, he was taking control of his life and seeking justice for the betrayal he had endured. Over the next few months, Kevin and Victor worked closely together. Victor's network of contacts provided valuable information about David and Laura's activities. Kevin learned that David was a mechanic with a shady past, and Laura had been in contact with him long before their marriage. The depth of their deception was staggering, but it fueled Kevin's resolve to see the plan through. Victor's team installed surveillance equipment in David's garage and Laura's apartment, capturing incriminating evidence of their ongoing affair. The footage showed them discussing their plans to take Kevin's money and live a lavish life together. It was the proof Kevin needed to expose their treachery. As the evidence mounted, Kevin felt a sense of empowerment. He was no longer the naive husband blindsided by betrayal. He was a man on a mission to reclaim his dignity and make Laura and David pay for their actions. The plan culminated in a carefully orchestrated event, Laura's parents' 25th wedding anniversary celebration. It was a grand affair, attended by family and friends, and Laura had planned to make a heartfelt speech honoring her parents. Unbeknownst to her, Kevin and Victor had prepared a different kind of presentation. On the night of the celebration, Kevin watched from a discreet corner as Laura took the stage. She looked radiant, her smile bright and confident. But as she began her speech, the screen behind her lit up with the footage Kevin and Victor had gathered. The room fell silent as the damning evidence played out for everyone to see. Gasps and whispers filled the room, and Laura's smile faded as she realized what was happening. She turned to see the horrified expressions on her parents' faces and the shocked murmurs of their guests. David, who was also present, paled visibly, his smug demeanor replaced by panic. Kevin stepped forward, his voice steady and resolute. "Laura, David, this is the truth you tried to hide. This is the reality of your deceit. I loved you, Laura, and you betrayed me. Now, everyone knows the kind of people you truly are." Laura's eyes filled with tears, and she stumbled off the stage, unable to face the judgment of those around her. David tried to slip away unnoticed, but Victor's men intercepted him, ensuring he couldn't escape the consequences of his actions. As the night wore on, Kevin felt a sense of closure. He had exposed Laura and David for the frauds they were, and he had reclaimed his sense of self-worth. It wasn't a perfect victory, but it was a step towards healing and moving forward. In the days that followed, Kevin finalized his divorce from Laura and began to rebuild his life. He continued to stay at the cabin, finding solace in the peace and quiet it offered. Michael and Victor remained close, providing unwavering support as Kevin navigated this new chapter. One afternoon, as Kevin was walking through the woods near the cabin, he came across Emma, a woman he had met briefly at one of Michael's gatherings. She was kind, intelligent, and had a warmth that drew Kevin in. They struck up a conversation, and over time, their bond deepened. Emma had her own share of past wounds, and together, they found comfort and healing in each other's company. Their relationship blossomed, built on mutual respect and understanding. Kevin felt a renewed sense of hope and happiness, knowing that he had found someone who truly cared for him. 2 years after discovering Laura's betrayal, Kevin married Emma in a simple, intimate ceremony. They chose to keep the celebration small, surrounded by close friends and family. As they exchanged vows, Kevin felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought him to this moment. In the end, Kevin learned valuable lessons about trust, resilience, and the importance of surrounding oneself with genuine people. His journey had been filled with pain and heartbreak, but it had also led him to a place of peace and fulfillment. Kevin and Emma built a life together, filled with love, laughter, and mutual support. Kevin's company continued to thrive, and he remained close with Michael and Victor, grateful for their unwavering loyalty. As he stood on the porch of their cabin, watching the sunset with Emma by his side, Kevin knew that he had emerged from the darkest chapter of his life stronger and more resilient. He had reclaimed his sense of self and found a love that was true and unwavering. And in that moment, he felt a deep sense of contentment, knowing that he had finally found his place in the world. Kevin spent the next few days in the cabin, reflecting on the events that had shattered his world. The serene environment provided a stark contrast to the chaos he felt inside. The fresh mountain air and the tranquility of nature helped him find a semblance of peace, even as his thoughts remained turbulent. He knew that he needed to confront Laura one last time to gain closure and understand her motivations. One evening, as Kevin was sitting on the porch, he received a call from Michael. "Hey, Kevin, how are you holding up?" "I'm doing better, Michael. The cabin is amazing. Thank you for this." Michael's voice was reassuring. "I'm glad to hear that. Listen, there's something else I need to discuss with you. Laura wants to meet. She said it's important." Kevin's heart sank at the thought of facing Laura again, but he knew it was necessary. "All right, I'll meet her. Where and when?" "I've arranged for her to come to the cabin tomorrow afternoon. It's better if you meet in a neutral place where you can stay calm." Kevin agreed, and the next day, he prepared himself mentally for the encounter. He spent the morning hiking and clearing his mind, trying to summon the strength he needed to face Laura. By the time she arrived, he felt a sense of resolve. Laura arrived in the early afternoon, her expression a mix of guilt and apprehension. She looked different, more subdued, as if the weight of her actions had finally caught up with her. "Hi, Kevin," she said softly, standing at the edge of the porch. Kevin nodded, gesturing for her to sit down. "Hello, Laura. Let's get this over with." They sat in silence for a few moments, the tension between them palpable. Finally, Laura spoke. "I know I've hurt you deeply, Kevin, and I'm truly sorry for everything. I never wanted it to end this way." Kevin's expression hardened. "You didn't want it to end this way, but you made choices that led us here." "Why, Laura? Why did you do it?" Laura sighed, her eyes filled with regret. "It wasn't supposed to be like this. When we got married, I thought I could leave my past behind and start fresh. But David, he was always there, lurking in the background. I couldn't let go of him." Kevin felt a pang of anger. "So, you used me? For what, Laura? For my money? For security?" Laura shook her head. "It wasn't just about the money, Kevin. I did care about you. But I was selfish and scared. I wanted the best of both worlds, and I thought I could have it. I didn't realize how much I was hurting you until it was too late." Kevin's voice trembled with emotion. "You broke my trust, Laura. You destroyed our marriage. How do you expect me to move on from this?" Laura's eyes filled with tears. "I don't expect you to forgive me, Kevin. I just wanted to explain and ask for your forgiveness, even if I don't deserve it. I'm truly sorry." Kevin took a deep breath, trying to keep his emotions in check. "I appreciate your apology, Laura, but it doesn't change what happened. I need to move on, and I need you to do the same. Our marriage is over." Laura nodded, tears streaming down her face. "I understand. I'll respect your wishes and give you the space you need. I hope you can find happiness again." With that, Laura stood up and walked away, leaving Kevin alone on the porch. As she disappeared down the path, Kevin felt a mixture of sadness and relief. The confrontation had been painful, but it was necessary for his healing process. That evening, Kevin sat by the fireplace, reflecting on the conversation with Laura. He knew that forgiving her would take time, but he felt a sense of closure. He was ready to move forward and rebuild his life. Over the next few weeks, Kevin focused on his recovery. He immersed himself in physical therapy, determined to regain his strength. The cabin, with its peaceful surroundings, became a sanctuary where he could heal both physically and emotionally. He spent his days hiking, reading, and meditating, finding solace in the simplicity of nature. One morning, while Kevin was out for a walk, he received a call from Victor. "Hey, Kevin, I've got some news for you." Kevin's curiosity was piqued. "What is it, Victor?" "We've gathered enough evidence against David and Laura. It's time to move to the next phase of our plan. Are you ready?" Kevin felt a surge of determination. "Yes, I'm ready. Let's do this." Victor outlined the details of their plan. They would expose David and Laura's deceit in a way that would leave them humiliated and powerless. It was a complex operation, but Kevin was fully committed to seeing it through. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Kevin worked closely with Victor and his team, ensuring that every detail of the plan was meticulously executed. They installed surveillance equipment, gathered evidence, and prepared for the final showdown. The culmination of their efforts was set to take place at Laura's parents' 25th wedding anniversary celebration. It was a grand event, attended by family and friends, and Laura had planned to make a heartfelt speech honoring her parents. Unbeknownst to her, Kevin and Victor had a different presentation in mind. On the night of the celebration, Kevin arrived early, blending in with the crowd. He watched as Laura mingled with the guests, her demeanor confident and composed. As the evening progressed, the moment he had been waiting for finally arrived. Laura took the stage, smiling brightly as she began her speech. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here to celebrate this special occasion. My parents have been a shining example of love and commitment, and I'm so proud to be their daughter." As she spoke, the screen behind her lit up with the footage Kevin and Victor had gathered. The room fell silent as the damning evidence played out for everyone to see. Gasps and whispers filled the room, and Laura's smile faded as she realized what was happening. She turned to see the horrified expressions on her parents' faces and the shocked murmurs of their guests. David, who was also present, paled visibly, his smug demeanor replaced by panic. Kevin stepped forward, his voice steady and resolute. "Laura, David, this is the truth you tried to hide. This is the reality of your deceit. I loved you, Laura, and you betrayed me. Now, everyone knows the kind of people you truly are." Laura's eyes filled with tears, and she stumbled off the stage, unable to face the judgment of those around her. David tried to slip away unnoticed, but Victor's men intercepted him, ensuring he couldn't escape the consequences of his actions. As the night wore on, Kevin felt a sense of closure. He had exposed Laura and David for the frauds they were, and he had reclaimed his sense of self-worth. It wasn't a perfect victory, but it was a step towards healing and moving forward. In the days that followed, Kevin finalized his divorce from Laura and began to rebuild his life. He continued to stay at the cabin, finding solace in the peace and quiet it offered. Michael and Victor remained close, providing unwavering support as Kevin navigated this new chapter. One afternoon, as Kevin was walking through the woods near the cabin, he came across Emma, a woman he had met briefly at one of Michael's gatherings. She was kind, intelligent, and had a warmth that drew Kevin in. They struck up a conversation, and over time, their bond deepened. Emma had her own share of past wounds, and together, they found comfort and healing in each other's company. Their relationship blossomed, built on mutual respect and understanding. Kevin felt a renewed sense of hope and happiness, knowing that he had found someone who truly cared for him. 2 years after discovering Laura's betrayal, Kevin married Emma in a simple, intimate ceremony. They chose to keep the celebration small, surrounded by close friends and family. As they exchanged vows, Kevin felt a profound sense of gratitude for the journey that had brought him to this moment. In the end, Kevin learned valuable lessons about trust, resilience, and the importance of surrounding oneself with genuine people. His journey had been filled with pain and heartbreak, but it had also led him to a place of peace and fulfillment. Kevin and Emma built a life together, filled with love, laughter, and mutual support. Kevin's company continued to thrive, and he remained close with Michael and Victor, grateful for their unwavering loyalty. As he stood on the porch of their cabin, watching the sunset with Emma by his side, Kevin knew that he had emerged from the darkest chapter of his life stronger and more resilient. He had reclaimed his sense of self and found a love that was true and unwavering. And in that moment, he felt a deep sense of contentment, knowing that he had finally found his place in the world. Kevin sat alone in the cabin, the fire crackling softly in the hearth. He had been thinking a lot about the past lately, reflecting on the choices that had led him to this moment. With a steaming mug of coffee in hand, he let his mind drift back to the days when he first met Laura. It was during his junior year at university, a time when Kevin was still finding his place in the world. He had always been more introverted, preferring the quiet of the library to the chaos of college parties. One day, as he sat alone at a table in the student union, immersed in his books, he noticed someone approaching. "Hey, mind if I join you?" a cheerful voice asked. Kevin looked up to see Laura standing there, her warm smile and bright eyes instantly captivating him. She was the head cheerleader, the kind of girl who usually hung out with the popular crowd, not someone who would notice a quiet, nerdy guy like him. Sure," Kevin stammered, still surprised that she wanted to sit with him. Laura sat down and immediately began chatting about her classes and how she was struggling with some of her coursework. She explained that she had noticed Kevin in one of her classes and thought he seemed like someone who could help. "I could really use a tutor," she admitted. "Most people don't take me seriously because of my cheerleading, but I really want to do well. Would you be willing to help me out?" Kevin hesitated, unsure if he was up to the task, but something in Laura's earnest expression made him agree. "Okay, let's give it a try. When do you want to start?" They began meeting regularly, initially focusing on their studies. But as time went on, their sessions became less about coursework and more about getting to know each other. Laura was easy to talk to, and Kevin found himself opening up to her in ways he hadn't with anyone else. They shared their dreams, their fears, and their hopes for the future. For Kevin, those moments with Laura were magical. He felt a connection with her that he had never experienced before. Despite their different backgrounds, they complemented each other perfectly. Laura brought a sense of fun and spontaneity into Kevin's life, while he provided her with stability and support. One evening, after a particularly intense study session, Laura turned to Kevin with a serious expression. "Kevin, I need to tell you something." Kevin's heart raced, worried about what she might say. "What is it?" "I think we've become more than just study partners," Laura said, her voice soft. "I really like you, Kevin. And I think you like me too." Kevin was stunned. He had developed strong feelings for Laura but had never dared to hope that she might feel the same way. "I do like you, Laura. A lot." Laura smiled, relief washing over her face. "Good. Because I was hoping you'd take me out on a proper date." Their first date was unforgettable. They went to a cozy Italian restaurant, and afterward, Laura surprised Kevin by taking him to a party where she introduced him to her friends. Kevin was nervous at first, but Laura's confidence and warmth made him feel at ease. By the end of the night, they were holding hands, and Kevin knew he had fallen in love. Their relationship blossomed over the next few months. Laura moved in with Kevin, and they spent every possible moment together. They supported each other's ambitions, with Kevin encouraging Laura's artistic pursuits and Laura cheering on Kevin's career goals. They dreamed of a future together, one filled with love and mutual respect. Looking back, Kevin realized how deeply he had loved Laura. He had been willing to do anything for her, to build a life that would make them both happy. But now, in the wake of her betrayal, those memories were bittersweet. The woman he had loved so deeply had shattered his trust and left him questioning everything he thought he knew about her. Kevin shook his head, trying to clear his thoughts. He couldn't change the past, but he could learn from it. He had to focus on moving forward and building a new life for himself, one that wasn't defined by betrayal and heartache. The next morning, Kevin decided to visit some of his old haunts from his university days. He drove to the campus, parking his car in a familiar lot. As he walked through the campus, memories came flooding back. He passed the student union where he and Laura had first met, the library where they had spent countless hours studying, and the coffee shop where they had shared their hopes and dreams. Kevin made his way to a small park on the edge of campus, a place where he and Laura had often gone to escape the pressures of university life. He sat down on a bench, taking in the peaceful surroundings. The park looked much the same as it had years ago, a place of tranquility amid the hustle and bustle of campus life. As Kevin sat there, lost in thought, he realized that while his past with Laura had been painful, it had also taught him valuable lessons. He had learned about love and trust, about the importance of being true to oneself, and about the strength it took to overcome betrayal. These lessons would guide him as he moved forward, helping him build a better, more resilient version of himself. In the weeks that followed, Kevin continued to reflect on his past while planning for his future. He threw himself into his work, finding solace in the progress he was making with his company. The support of Michael and Victor was invaluable, and Kevin knew he could rely on them as he navigated this new chapter of his life. One day, Kevin received a message from Emma. They had kept in touch since their initial meeting, and their conversations had become a source of comfort and joy for him. Emma suggested they meet for coffee, and Kevin eagerly agreed. They met at a quaint cafe in town, and as soon as Kevin saw Emma, he felt a sense of warmth and familiarity. They talked for hours, sharing stories about their lives and dreams for the future. Emma's presence was like a balm for Kevin's wounded heart, and he found himself smiling and laughing more than he had in months. As they spent more time together, Kevin and Emma's relationship deepened. Emma had her own scars from past relationships, and they found strength in their shared experiences. Together, they began to heal and build a new foundation based on mutual respect and understanding. Kevin was grateful for the second chance at happiness that Emma had brought into his life. She was kind, intelligent, and supportive, and Kevin felt truly lucky to have found her. They spent weekends exploring new places, going on adventures, and simply enjoying each other's company. One evening, as they sat together on the porch of the cabin, Kevin turned to Emma, his heart full of gratitude. "Thank you for being here with me, Emma. You've brought so much light into my life." Emma smiled, her eyes shining with affection. "And you've brought the same into mine, Kevin. I believe we were meant to find each other." As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the landscape, Kevin felt a deep sense of contentment. He had come a long way from the pain and betrayal that had once defined his life. With Emma by his side, he knew he had the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the end, Kevin had learned that life was a journey filled with ups and downs, joys and sorrows. But through it all, it was the connections with others, the love and support of those who truly cared, that made the journey worthwhile. And as he looked forward to a future with Emma, Kevin knew that he was ready to embrace whatever came next, with an open heart and an unwavering spirit. After confronting Laura and finally finding some closure, Kevin felt a renewed sense of determination. He knew he couldn't move on completely until he had addressed the betrayal and deceit perpetrated by Laura and David. With the support of Michael and Victor, he was ready to take the next steps in their plan. One evening, as Kevin sat in the cabin, he received a call from Victor. "Kevin, it's time. We've gathered all the evidence we need against Laura and David. Are you ready to proceed?" Kevin's heart raced with a mix of anticipation and apprehension. "Yes, Victor, I'm ready. Let's do this." Victor laid out the final details of their plan, which involved gathering more concrete evidence and preparing for the public exposure of Laura and David's deceit. The plan was to ensure that their actions would have serious consequences, not just for their personal lives but also for their reputations. The first step was to install surveillance equipment in David's garage and Laura's apartment. Kevin felt a sense of unease at the thought of spying on them, but he knew it was necessary to gather the proof they needed. Victor's team was highly skilled, and they quickly and discreetly set up the cameras and microphones. Over the next few weeks, Kevin and Victor monitored the footage, capturing incriminating evidence of Laura and David's ongoing affair. The recordings showed them discussing their plans to take Kevin's money and live a lavish life together. It was hard for Kevin to watch, but it fueled his resolve to see the plan through. One evening, while reviewing the footage, Victor called Kevin over to look at something. "Kevin, you need to see this." Kevin walked over to the computer screen and watched as Laura and David talked about their future plans. "We've almost got everything we need," Laura said, a smug smile on her face. "Once the divorce is finalized, we'll have all his money and we can finally be together without hiding." David nodded, looking equally pleased. "Yeah, and he won't see it coming. The fool trusted us both." Kevin felt a surge of anger and betrayal, but he took a deep breath and focused on the task at hand. "That's all the proof we need," he said, his voice steady. "Now it's time to execute the final phase of our plan." The culmination of their efforts was set to take place at Laura's parents' 25th wedding anniversary celebration. It was a grand event, attended by family and friends, and Laura had planned to make a heartfelt speech honoring her parents. Unbeknownst to her, Kevin and Victor had prepared a different kind of presentation. On the night of the celebration, Kevin arrived early, blending in with the crowd. He watched as Laura mingled with the guests, her demeanor confident and composed. As the evening progressed, the moment he had been waiting for finally arrived. Laura took the stage, smiling brightly as she began her speech. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for being here to celebrate this special occasion. My parents have been a shining example of love and commitment, and I'm so proud to be their daughter." As she spoke, the screen behind her lit up with the footage Kevin and Victor had gathered. The room fell silent as the damning evidence played out for everyone to see. Gasps and whispers filled the room, and Laura's smile faded as she realized what was happening. She turned to see the horrified expressions on her parents' faces and the shocked murmurs of their guests. David, who was also present, paled visibly, his smug demeanor replaced by panic. Kevin stepped forward, his voice steady and resolute. "Laura, David, this is the truth you tried to hide. This is the reality of your deceit. I loved you, Laura, and you betrayed me. Now, everyone knows the kind of people you truly are." Laura's eyes filled with tears, and she stumbled off the stage, unable to face the judgment of those around her. David tried to slip away unnoticed, but Victor's men intercepted him, ensuring he couldn't escape the consequences of his actions. As the night wore on, Kevin felt a sense of closure. He had exposed Laura and David for the frauds they were, and he had reclaimed his sense of self-worth. It wasn't a perfect victory, but it was a step towards healing and moving forward. In the days that followed, Kevin finalized his divorce from Laura and began to rebuild his life. He continued to stay at the cabin, finding solace in the peace and quiet it offered. Michael and Victor remained close, providing unwavering support as Kevin navigated this new chapter. Kevin's company also began to thrive again. He had been neglecting it during the turmoil of his personal life, but now, with a clear mind and renewed focus, he threw himself into his work. The team rallied behind him, grateful to see their leader back in action. One day, Kevin received a call from a major investor who had been impressed with the company's recent progress. "Kevin, I've been following your work closely. I believe your company has great potential, and I'd like to discuss a substantial investment." Kevin was elated. This was the break his company needed to expand and reach new heights. He set up a meeting with the investor and spent the next few days preparing for the presentation. The meeting went better than Kevin could have hoped. The investor was enthusiastic about the company's vision and offered a significant amount of capital to help them grow. With this new investment, Kevin was able to hire more staff, develop new products, and expand their market reach. As the company flourished, so did Kevin's personal life. He and Emma grew closer, their bond strengthening with each passing day. They spent weekends exploring new places, going on adventures, and simply enjoying each other's company. One evening, as they sat together on the porch of the cabin, Kevin turned to Emma, his heart full of gratitude. "Thank you for being here with me, Emma. You brought so much light into my life." Emma smiled, her eyes shining with affection. "And you've brought the same into mine, Kevin. I believe we were meant to find each other." As the sun set, casting a warm glow over the landscape, Kevin felt a deep sense of contentment. He had come a long way from the pain and betrayal that had once defined his life. With Emma by his side, he knew he had the strength to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In the end, Kevin had learned that life was a journey filled with ups and downs, joys and sorrows. But through it all, it was the connections graphic design studio, which quickly gained a reputation for its innovative and creative designs. Kevin and Emma supported each other's ambitions, finding joy in their individual achievements and shared dreams. Their relationship grew stronger with each passing day. Kevin admired Emma's strength, intelligence, and kindness, while Emma appreciated Kevin's resilience, dedication, and unwavering support. Together, they built a life filled with love, laughter, and mutual respect. One weekend, Kevin and Emma decided to take a trip to the mountains. They packed their bags and set off for a remote cabin that Emma had found. The drive was scenic, and as they wound their way through the forested roads, Kevin felt a sense of peace and anticipation. The cabin was nestled in a picturesque valley, surrounded by towering pine trees and a crystal-clear lake. It was the perfect getaway, offering a chance to unwind and reconnect with nature. Kevin and Emma spent their days hiking, fishing, and exploring the surrounding wilderness. One evening, as they sat by the lake, watching the sunset, Kevin felt a deep sense of contentment. The past few years had been a whirlwind, filled with challenges and triumphs, but he had emerged stronger and more resilient. Emma leaned against him, her head resting on his shoulder. "This place is beautiful, Kevin. I'm so glad we came here." Kevin nodded, his arm around her. "Me too. It's perfect." As the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, Kevin turned to Emma, his heart pounding with anticipation. "Emma, there's something I've been meaning to ask you." Emma looked up, her eyes filled with curiosity. "What is it?" Kevin took a deep breath, his hand trembling slightly as he reached into his pocket. He pulled out a small, velvet box and opened it to reveal a sparkling diamond ring. "Emma, you've brought so much joy and love into my life. I can't imagine my future without you. Will you marry me?" Tears welled up in Emma's eyes, and she nodded, her smile radiant. "Yes, Kevin, yes, I'll marry you." Kevin slipped the ring onto her finger, and they embraced, their hearts full of love and happiness. It was a moment of pure joy, a new beginning for both of them. In the months that followed, Kevin and Emma planned their wedding, eager to celebrate their love with family and friends. They chose a beautiful vineyard as the venue, surrounded by lush greenery and stunning views. The wedding day was perfect. The sun shone brightly, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. Kevin and Emma exchanged vows under a canopy of flowers, their eyes locked in a gaze filled with love and promise. Michael stood by Kevin's side as his best man, beaming with pride. Victor was also there, his presence a reminder of the strength and support that had carried Kevin through the darkest times. As Kevin and Emma were pronounced husband and wife, the guests erupted in applause, and the newlyweds shared a passionate kiss. It was a day filled with joy, laughter, and the promise of a bright future together. In the years that followed, Kevin and Emma built a life filled with love, adventure, and mutual support. They traveled the world, explored new passions, and continued to grow both personally and professionally. Kevin's company became a leader in the tech industry, known for its innovative products and ethical practices. Emma's design studio flourished, earning accolades for its creativity and impact. Together, they made a positive difference in their community, giving back and supporting causes close to their hearts. As they sat on the porch of their home, watching the sunset and reminiscing about their journey, Kevin felt a deep sense of gratitude. He had come a long way from the pain and betrayal that had once defined his life. With Emma by his side, he had found a love that was true and unwavering. In the end, Kevin had learned that life's challenges could be overcome with resilience, trust, and the support of those who truly cared. His journey had been filled with ups and downs, but it had also led him to a place of peace, fulfillment, and lasting happiness. And as he looked forward to the future with Emma, Kevin knew that he was ready to embrace whatever came next, with an open heart and an unwavering spirit. As we wrap up this episode, we've journeyed through the intense emotions and profound transformations in Betrayed Hearts, the unfolding saga of a cheating wife and a journey to redemption. Kevin's story has shown us that even in the darkest times, there's a path to healing and hope. His resilience and determination led him to rebuild his life and find genuine love with Emma. This tale is a powerful reminder that true strength lies in overcoming betrayal and finding peace within oneself. Thank you for joining us in exploring this Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more captivating stories and inspiring content. Until next time, keep believing in the power of redemption and the strength of the human spirit.